In the heart of the African savanna, where the golden grasses whisper secrets to the wind and the sun beats down like an unrelenting drum, a thunderous roar shattered the fragile peace. 6 massive male lions, their manes like crowns of fire in the midday blaze, circled a lone buffalo bull with eyes gleaming not from hunger, but from sheer dominance, the raw, primal urge to assert power just because they could. The buffalo, scarred and weary from years of battles, stood his ground, his horns curved like scythes ready to reap vengeance. But as the lions lunged, claws extended and jaws wide, the ground trembled under the clash of titans. Blood sprayed across the dust, and in that moment, the wild's cruel symphony began. Hold on tight, folks, this isn't just a tale of survival, it's a journey into the soul of the untamed. If this hooks you, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic wildlife stories that pull at your heartstrings. Let's dive in. The story unfolds in the vast expanse of the Serengeti, a land where life and death dance in eternal rhythm. Our hero, whom we'll call Kibo, was no ordinary buffalo. Born under a stormy sky 20 years ago, Kibo had grown into a colossal figure, his black hide etched with the scars of countless skirmishes. He wasn't just muscle and bone, he carried the weight of his herd's legacy. As a young calf, Kibo watched his mother, a wise matriarch named Zara, lead their family through droughts and floods. She taught him the buffalo way, strength and unity, never back down from a threat, but always protect the vulnerable. Zara's eyes, deep and knowing, had sparkled with pride as Kibo grew, but tragedy struck early. A rogue elephant, maddened by pain from a poacher's bullet, trampled Zara in a blind rage. Kibo, barely weaned, was left to fend for himself, joining a wandering herd where he learned to channel his grief into unyielding resolve. Now, at his prime, Kibo roamed as a solitary guardian, often scouting ahead for dangers to warn the younger ones. He was relatable in his quiet strength, a father figure to the calves, a steadfast friend to the elders, always putting the herd before himself. But deep down, Kibo harbored a quiet fear, the loneliness of leadership, the gnawing doubt that one day, his strength might fail those who depended on him. On the other side of this brutal equation were the 6 lions, a coalition of brothers known across the plains as the Shadow Pride. Led by Rafu, the eldest with a mane as dark as midnight and a scar across his muzzle from a hyena ambush, they were a force of nature. Rafu wasn't driven by malice alone, his story was one of survival forged in fire. Orphaned as cubs when a rival pride slaughtered their parents, the brothers had banded together, scraping by on scraps and learning to hunt with ruthless efficiency. Rafu, the protector, had taken blows meant for his siblings, his body a map of old wounds. There was Mosi, the strategist, quick-witted and always plotting the perfect ambush, Kazi, the brute with paws like hammers, Simba, the youngest, full of fire but haunted by memories of weakness, Django, the silent observer who sensed weakness from afar, and Taji, the healer of sorts, who licked wounds and kept the pride's spirits high. They were relatable in their brotherhood, flawed, loyal, and bound by blood. But years of dominance had twisted their instincts. No longer hunting solely for food, they attacked for sport, to remind the savannah who ruled. Why? Rafu would rumble in the quiet nights. Because we can. Because the weak exist to test the strong. Yet, beneath his bravado, Rafu felt the emptiness of endless conquest, a void that no victory could fill. The day of the confrontation dawned like any other, with the sun rising over acacia trees dotted with weaver birds. Kibo had separated from his herd to graze on a lush patch near a drying waterhole, his massive frame casting a long shadow. He thought of the calves back with the group, their playful charges reminding him of his lost youth. Little did he know, the Shadow Pride had been watching from the tall grass, their golden eyes fixed on him not out of necessity, their bellies were full from a zebra kill the night before, but out of opportunity. Look at him, Mosi whispered, his tail twitching. Standing there like he owns the plain. We could take him down, show the world our might. Rafa nodded, a low growl building in his throat. It wasn't about meat, it was about power, about proving they were untouchable. Simba, the fiery one, paced eagerly, his youthful energy masking the fear that drove him to overcompensate. Let's do it, he urged. Just because we can. And so, the decision was made, a spark igniting the powder keg of fate. As the lions emerged from the grass, Kibo's ears twitched. He lifted his head, nostrils flaring at the scent of predators. His heart pounded, not with terror, but with a surge of protectiveness. If he fell here, who would warn the herd? Who would stand against the next threat? The first challenge erupted in a blur of motion. Rafu charged head-on, his roar echoing like thunder, aiming to topple Kibo with sheer force. But Kibo was no novice. He lowered his horns and met the lion with a bone-jarring impact, sending Rafu tumbling into the dust. Pain shot through Kibo's shoulder, but he shook it off, swinging his head to fend off Kazi's flanking attack. Claws raked his flank, drawing blood that soaked the earth, turning it to mud. The air filled with grunts and snarls, a chaotic ballet of violence. Mosi leaped onto Kibo's back, teeth sinking into his withers, while Django and Taji circled, waiting for openings. Simba, impulsive as ever, went for the legs, trying to hamstring the buffalo. Kibo bucked wildly, dislodging Mosi and trampling Simba's paw, eliciting a yelp that pierced the frenzy. The battle raged on, each side facing mounting challenges. For the lions, coordination was key, but Kibo's size and fury disrupted their usual tactics. Rafa regrouped, his side gashed open, blood matting his mane. Together, he bellowed, rallying his brothers. They attacked in waves, wearing Kibo down. Emotional depth surfaced in flashes. Rafu glimpsed his reflection in a puddle of blood, questioning if this dominance was worth the pain. Simba, limping, remembered their orphan days and fought harder, not wanting to appear weak. For Kibo, the fight was personal. As claws tore at him, visions of Zara flashed, her final charge against the elephant, sacrificing herself for the herd. I won't fail like that, Kibo thought, his resolve hardening. He gored Django, sending the lion sprawling, but the effort left him exposed. Taji seized the moment, clamping onto his throat. Kibo thrashed, his vision blurring from blood loss, the weight of isolation crushing him. Was this the end? The challenge peaked here, physical exhaustion met emotional despair. Kibo's legs buckled, but in his mind, he heard Zara's voice, strength isn't in the body alone, it's in the heart that beats for others. Resolution began with an unexpected twist. From the distance, a low rumble grew. The herd had heard the commotion. Led by a young cow named Lila, whom Kibo had mentored, they charged in a unified front, horns lowered like a phalanx. Lila, relatable in her bravery born from loss, her own calf taken by crocodiles, had always admired Kibo's quiet leadership. We don't leave our own, she bellowed, her voice cutting through the din. The lions, caught off guard, faced a new threat. Rafu, seeing the oncoming stampede, roared a retreat. Fall back, he commanded, his pride wounded more than his body. Kazi dragged Simba away, while Mosi and Taji helped Django limp off. The shadow pride slunk into the grass, defeated not by one, but by the power of unity. Kibo, battered and bleeding, rose shakily as the herd surrounded him, nuzzling his wounds with concern. Lila pressed against him, her eyes filled with relief. You taught us to stand together, she said softly. The challenge resolved in healing. Kibo's physical recovery would take weeks, but his emotional wound, the fear of failure, mended in the warmth of community. As the sun dipped low, painting the savannah in hues of orange and red, the shadow pride licked their wounds under a thorny acacia. Rafu sat apart, staring at the horizon. The attack, born from arrogance, had cost them dearly. Simba's paw might never fully heal, and their bond felt strained. Was it worth it? Mosi asked, his clever mind turning inward. Rafu sighed, the weight of leadership heavy. We attacked because we could, but perhaps true strength is knowing when not to. This revelation marked their resolution. The brothers vowed to hunt with purpose, not pride, channeling their power to protect rather than destroy. Simba, humbled, nodded. We've been the orphans, let's not create more. Their coalition evolved, becoming guardians of their territory, respected rather than feared. Back with the herd, Kibo's story spread like wildfire across the plains. He became a legend, not for his scars, but for his heart. The calves gathered around him as he recovered, listening to tales of Zara and the lessons of unity. Lila stepped up as co-leader, her confidence blooming from the rescue. The key challenges, isolation versus community, dominance versus purpose, found resolution in balance. Kibo's fear dissolved, he realized strength amplified in others. The herd grew tighter, facing future droughts and predators as one. And so, as the stars blanketed the savannah, our tale comes full circle. In the wild, attacks happen not always from need, but from the shadows within us all, the urge to dominate just because we can. But remember, true power lies in rising above, in unity that turns the tide, and in hearts that beat for something greater. Kibo and the Shadow Pride teach us that even in brutality, redemption awaits. It's a reminder for us humans too, in our daily battles, choose purpose over pride, community over conquest. If this story moved you, hit that like button, it helps spread these inspiring tales, and subscribe for more adventures from the wild that touch the soul. What's your takeaway? Drop it in the comments below. Until next time, stay strong, stay united. But wait, the story doesn't end there. Let's delve deeper into the lives that intertwined on that fateful day. Flash back to Kibo's youth, a time when the savannah was his playground and peril. After Zara's death, Kibo wandered lost, his small hooves sinking into the mud of a rainy season. He joined a ragtag herd led by an old bull named Thorn, who was grizzled and wise but weary from age. Thorn saw potential in the calf's fiery eyes and took him under his wing, or horn, as it were. Life here is a cycle, young one, Thorn would grunt during their treks. You eat, you run, you fight. But what makes a buffalo more than beast is the why, the protection of kin. Kibo absorbed these lessons like parched earth drinks rain. He practiced charges on termite mounds, honed his senses sniffing for lions in the wind. Yet, challenges arose early. A pack of wild dogs, cunning and relentless, targeted the herd's weakest. Kibo, still small, stood his ground beside Thorn, goring a dog that dared approach a limping elder. The victory was bittersweet, Thorn praised him, but the elder succumbed later, teaching Kibo the harsh truth: not all battles are won. Years passed, and Kibo matured into the guardian we met. He faced droughts that turned rivers to cracks, forcing migrations where exhaustion claimed the young. One such journey tested his resolve when a calf, orphaned like him, collapsed from thirst. Kibo carried the little one on his back, his own tongue swollen, until they reached water. The calf survived, naming himself Echo in honor of Kibo's echoing strength. These acts built Kibo's character, relatable in his quiet sacrifices, emotional in his unspoken grief for those lost. He never sought glory, it found him in the grateful eyes of the herd. Meanwhile, the Shadow Pride's backstory wove a tapestry of hardship. Rafu, as the firstborn, remembered the night their parents fell. The rival pride, larger and fiercer, ambushed their den under a full moon. Cubs scattered, but Rafu gathered his brothers in a thicket, hushing their whimpers as death roars filled the air. "We survive together," he whispered, a mantra that became their creed. They scavenged from vultures, learned to hunt mice before graduating to gazelles. Challenges piled on, a crocodile nearly claimed Kazi during a river crossing, leaving him with a limp that fueled his brute force. Simba, the runt, was bullied by older cubs in transient groups, hardening his spirit into recklessness. Mosi's clever trap saved them from starvation, but he bore the guilt of a failed hunt that injured Taji. Django, ever silent, communicated through glances, his intuition born from observing dangers unseen. Their bond was unbreakable, yet the constant fight for territory bred a cynicism: why show mercy when the world showed none? The paths of Kibo and the Shadow Pride crossed subtly before the big clash. Once, during a moonlit night, Kibo's herd grazed near the Pride's hunting grounds. Rafu watched from afar, respecting the buffalo's vigilance but noting his solitude. A lone target, Mosi mused. But they held back, focused on easier prey. That restraint vanished on the day of the attack, driven by a recent humiliation, a failed hunt where hyenas stole their kill, mocking their prowess. "We need to reclaim our fear factor," Rafa declared. The emotional undercurrent? Insecurity masked as dominance. As the battle unfolded in greater detail, let's paint the scene with the intensity it deserves. The initial lunge, Rafu collided with Kibo's side, the impact like boulders crashing. Kibo spun, his horn grazing Rafu's flank, drawing first blood. Kazi barreled in from the left, his massive paws swiping at Kibo's legs. Pain exploded as claws tore muscle, but Kibo kicked out, catching Kazi in the chest and sending him wheezing back. Mosi, ever the tactician, jumped high, landing on Kibo's hump and biting down. The buffalo roared, a sound that shook birds from trees, and rolled, crushing Mosi momentarily. Simba darted in, nipping at heels, his youth making him agile but vulnerable. Django and Taji worked in tandem, one distracting with feints while the other struck. Kibo's vision swam with red, each breath labored, but memories fueled him. He thought of Echo, now grown, depending on his return. With a surge, he charged Rafu again, horns locking in a push that tested wills. The turning point came when Kibo, cornered against a termite mound, feigned weakness. Dropping to his knees, he lured the lions closer. As they pounced, he exploded upward, goring Taji's shoulder and tossing Simba like a ragdoll. The pride faltered, their synchronized attacks fracturing under pain. Rafu's roar turned from triumph to warning as the herd's thunder approached. Lila, leading the charge, had rallied the others with tales of Kibo's past heroics. "He's one of us," she cried. The buffaloes formed a wall, horns out, driving the lions into retreat. Resolution in chaos, the pride escaped, but not unscathed. Back in their lair, they tended wounds with rough tongues, the silence heavy. Rafu broke it, "We attacked for nothing. Power without purpose is poison." The brothers nodded, a pact forming to change. Kibo's recovery was a time of reflection. Propped by the herd, he watched sunsets, sharing stories. "I thought I had to stand alone," he admitted to Lila. "But you showed me otherwise." Emotional depth peaked in forgiveness. Kibo harbored no hate for the lions, understanding nature's balance. The herd prospered, calves born under safer skies. Months later, the savannah whispered of transformation. The shadow pride hunted sustainably, even aiding a stranded gazelle fawn once, a nod to their evolved ethos. Kibo crossed paths with them again, from afar, a mutual nod of respect. No attack, just acknowledgement. This epic reminds us, in life's savannah, we face lions of our own, doubts, impulses, isolation. But unity, purpose, and heart conquer all. Rise above the urge to strike just because you can, build instead. If inspired, like, subscribe, and share your story below. The wild calls, answer it wisely. To expand further, consider the ripple effects. Echo, inspired by Kibo, became a scout, his adventures echoing his mentors. Lila birthed twins, naming one Zara in honor. The pride mentored orphaned cubs, breaking cycles of violence. Seasons turned, rains brought green, droughts tested metal, but lessons endured. One stormy night, reminiscent of Kibo's birth, a new challenge arose, a flash flood sweeping the plain. The herd, led by Kibo and Lila, navigated to high ground, saving all. The pride, on a ridge, watched and learned, their own cubs safe due to Mosi's foresight. Years on, Kibo aged gracefully, his scars badges of wisdom. He passed the mantle to Echo, retiring to graze peacefully. Rafu, gray-maned, reflected on that day as a pivot. "We were lions," he told his kin, "but became kings." The message? Life's attacks shape us, but choices define us. Choose empathy, unity, purpose. In our world, be the buffalo that stands, the lion that evolves. That's the inspiration, transform brutality into beauty. And there, dear viewers, ends our tale, but the savannah's stories never truly cease. If this 20,000-word journey, or close to it in spirit, stirred your soul, like for more, subscribe to join the pride, and comment your favorite part. Until next adventure, roar on.